Alright, Pixel XL made by Google. This is my thoughts, review, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so taking a look at the Pixel XL made by Google. This phone, folks, I'm truly enjoying this phone. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I like and a little bit about what I don't like. So first, let's take a look at the design of the phone. This phone gets a lot of bad press about its design, and I think it's unfair. I mean, let's think about this. Phones are only so big. There's only so much real estate on them. There's only so much you can do to them from a design standpoint. What's the point of fussing about the design? You're going to have a rectangular shaped device, and you can make it as thin as possible, or you can make it as thick as possible, or whatever. You can only do so much. So I really wish the media would just let this whole design crap go. The phone, when I look at it, it reminds me of an old HTC phone. I think the HTC 10 is the latest one that's out there. I guess it makes sense considering HTC designed, well, they didn't design it, but HTC manufactured this phone for Google. So maybe there's a reason that is. But it also has some iPhone tendencies when you look at it too. There are some things I don't necessarily care for, is like the whole antenna lines that are on the back of it and whatnot. I don't care for the glass panel on the back, but I'm sure there's a rhyme and a reason that glass panel is there. I believe it's for the signal. And when I've used this thing to make voice calls or what have you, my signal has been crystal clear, even if I'm in spotty areas. So that's been a plus. I'll find out more about the signal over the next couple of days when I go out of town. So we'll see. I'm not going to get too nerdy and talk about all of the different specs and whatnot that this phone comes with. I mean, the Pixel does come with a faster processor in it, which is a big plus for me. I needed that. I needed an upgrade. I needed more RAM, and I needed more processing speed for what I do. Not only do I use the phone to send out messages and whatnot for work and check social media, but I also use my smartphone for content creation. I love taking photographs and I love shooting video with my smartphone. And with the stuff that I've been trying to do recently, I needed a lot more horsepower on my phone, and the Pixel XL is going to give me that horsepower. But it's going to come at a price. The Pixel, depending on the model that you get, it's going to run you probably about $700. Not cheap at all. Some people are going to argue about that price and say, hey, no, that's what it should cost. And quite possibly I get that, but at the same time, some of these things that these smartphones can do, they're just like a computer. The only difference is it allows you to make a phone call to someone. I still don't think that justifies the price for everything. The phone that I'm upgrading from is the Nexus 6. The Nexus 6 is a 5.9 inch screen. This Pixel XL that I'm shooting this video on is a 5.5 inch screen, so it's a little bit smaller, which is fine. The vertical aspect of this phone looks just fine to me. I'm totally comfortable with that. It is a high resolution screen at 2560 by 1440, so that's much better than the 1080p resolution. The problem that I do have with the size of this phone is the width of the phone. Coming from the Nexus 6, it's a slightly larger phone. You saw that in my first glance. You saw that in my first glance video. You could see that it was slightly taller and slightly wider. I enjoyed the fact that the Nexus was slightly wider because I have big ass hands. It made it a lot easier for me to type on it if it was a little bit wider. The Pixel XL, it says XL, but it's not really extra large in my opinion. It is big enough for me to use, but I'm definitely going to have to get over this learning curve and learn how to type on a little more narrow screen. Speakers on the phone. I don't know about you, but speakers on the phone have always been pretty craptastic for me, with the exception of this one phone that I had years ago. HTC used to do what they call boom sound, or what's it called, boom sound? Anyway, HTC used to do front-facing speakers on the phones, and they used to have them like one there and one there. HTC manufactured this phone for Google, but there are no front-facing speakers on this phone, and I find that rather annoying. Every now and then I would like to watch a YouTube video or what have you, just something short and sweet, and you're holding the phone in your hands and you're muffling the sound because the speakers are right here on the bottom. MKBHD, Marcus Brownlee, said that supposedly there's only one speaker in these two little slots here. I can't tell. I tried to look at it. It looks like two grills, and when I stick my ear up next to it, it does sound like it's coming out both sides, but I'm not going to argue here or there. It's not that important to me. Why? Because I much rather use real speakers, whether it's my car's audio or I use the Chromecast and send it through to my home theater or something. Speakers on the phone are always going to be crap. They just are. Sorry. The Android software is pretty nice. It does a really good job for us being a smooth and fluid operating system and allowing you to get from screen to screen without a problem. Yes, having good hardware does help with that, but I think the code on this is much nicer and a much better experience than previous versions of Android. So for those that have been complaining about Android, I think this is the time to jump on it because it's a much nicer experience than before. When you go through a lot of the different features of Android, you now have these long press options for certain apps. If you hold down, for example, the messaging app or what have you, if you just hold it down, it gives you the option to message the last person that you talk to, kind of thing. It's almost similar to the, what is it called? It's almost similar to the Force Touch on iOS. It's pretty nice. Unfortunately, it's inconsistent because it doesn't work for all of the apps. It's only pretty much the Google apps out there. The new icon layout on here is nice and pretty. They're round, but it's inconsistent. I'm assuming they'll fix that in the Android SDK and allow it to be a little more consistent, because I have camera apps that I use, and when I look at them on my phone, the icon is square versus the circle like everything else. Just a little minor nitpick. Everybody wants to talk about the camera. The camera got all of these rave reviews and rave marks from DxO. I don't know just how important DxO is when it comes to rating cameras. I really don't care. I just want to see the proof. I want to see it in a real world situation and not necessarily in a test lab. A lot of smartphone cameras get their thumbs up or thumbs down based on how well they take photographs in low light situations. I think that's unfair. It's going to be hard for any smartphone to take a nice photograph in low light. The difference is the sensor size. This is a DSLR, okay? And you see how huge that lens is right there. The sensor is just a little bit smaller than that lens when it comes to size. If you look at the camera on your smartphone, it is tiny, 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 tiny. The sensors on them are not very big. That means you're not going to get as much light into that sensor and allow you to get more brilliant pictures, because photographs look much better the more light you have on them. And I don't want to hear the talk about larger pixel size, yada, 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 yada. Don't mean a hill of beans. It's going to be difficult for a smartphone to take photographs in a low light situation. The quality of this camera is really, really nice. You have, from a video aspect, you have 1080p shooting with 30 frames per second and also 60 frames per second. And then you have 4K shooting with 30 frames per second. You know, on the front side camera, it only shoots in 1080p, which is totally fine. That's what I'm using right now. And as I'm looking at this screen here, man, I look pretty damn good. I need the shade though. When you're shooting in 4K, you're using a whole lot of space. So you worry about, do you have enough storage on your phone? You can get this phone in a 32 gigabyte version, or you can get the 128 gigabyte version. I opted for 32. Why? Because I get all of my images backed up for free to the Google Photos cloud service, and I get that all at full resolution. I didn't see the need to jump on a much larger capacity phone. I think it's just fine using a 32 gigabyte and backing up all of my little content to the cloud, because most of the time I do my editing and whatnot on the computer anyway. So let me just get it up on the cloud, pull it down from the cloud at full resolution, and we'll go from there. Shooting stills on this camera is pretty daggum amazing. It is such a crispy camera as long as you have plenty of light. I'm going to skip over to some footage that I shot earlier today. I was in a low light scenario, so I wanted to see how the images would come out based on the environment, you know. But I've also shot some images that were shot with pretty good daylight or lighting situations. Here, let me show you a few of those photos right now. It bugs me to hear about, you know, bad low light performance. So anyway, with that said, I snapped a candid shot here, almost like street photography, and we're gonna take a look at it here in Lightroom. Okay, so I got the image inside of Lightroom. I didn't use the HDR mode that is pretty much on by default inside of this camera. I don't like that, by the way. I don't always want to shoot in HDR. But I shot just regular JPEG, 4:3 aspect ratio. And looking at it, the exposure is a little bit off if you look at the histogram. And that's okay. What concerns me is just how dense is this JPEG, just how much can I play around with this JPEG to make this image look more like my vision, you know what I'm saying? But if you look at the quality of this shot, I'm going to zoom in. You can see that it is a little bit noisy and a little bit of grain right there. But that's expected. It's not very bright in here. They were moving slightly. I was hoping to catch them when they wasn't moving. That's just how it is with the smartphone camera. You know, you can't beat that. You can't really get over that. I don't care what kind of aperture you have. You have them tiny little sensors on those things, and they can only get in so much light. That's going to happen. But let's just see how we can work with this thing. This looks pretty good, folks. I'm impressed with the camera so far, at least with that image. So I decided to come in here to Ultimate Fitness, my gym. This is the best gym on the daggone planet. But I wanted to come in here and check out my man Jacob Hoyle. He's a trainer here, so I wanted to get a little bit of footage of him training one of his clients. I'm going to shoot this first part in 1080p using the 60 frames per second just to take a look. And then I'm going to switch it over to the 4K resolution. And again, we got different lighting in here. There's a lot of different fluorescent lights, and all of that stuff works great for people that are trying to work out, because depending on how that overhead lighting looks, it makes your muscles look pretty daggum good. So let's check this out. Okay, well, since I'm in here, I guess I can get a little bit of lat pulls and, you know, just work on the back a little bit, just for a little bit. All right, so should you buy the Google Pixel or Pixel XL? I'm gonna say maybe. I don't think this phone is going to be for everybody. I really enjoy what Google has tried to do with this phone and the Android ecosystem and so forth to try to bring it more towards the masses with its own touch and not all of the TouchWiz stuff or whatever it's called at Samsung and the stuff from the other skin Android providers. But this phone is expensive. It's expensive. So I don't think it's for everybody. If you're able to get an upgrade and work out financing and save yourself a little money that way where it's not a big, huge hit on you, if you can afford it, I say go for it. If you have the Nexus 6P, I don't think it's necessary to jump up to this particular phone. I think the 6P is still a nice phone. It ain't perfect either, but I think it's still a nice phone and doesn't justify you spending that money right now on the Pixel XL when you can probably get it a lot cheaper in, say, February, March 2017. I'm glad I got the phone. I needed it. I had the Nexus 6. Big upgrade for me. I really needed this. And I think if you're going to be a content creator from a photography standpoint and a video standpoint, this thing is perfect. It's perfect. You can take it with you on the go. You can do what I'm doing right now. I have it mounted on a little tripod. You can walk around with it. The video stabilization is beautiful. The stills are beautiful. You saw how great Kylo looked on the camera. Hey, it's perfect for that. So it's a maybe. It's not for everybody, but there are some people this phone is perfect for, and I suggest it. Thank y'all for watching this video. Be sure to click the like and subscribe button and the share button, all that good stuff to spread the word about the Pixel XL and my point of view. I know some people may not agree with everything I said, but that's quite all right. Appreciate y'all coming in here and watching. Be sure to read more on antpruitt.com as I share more photos and thoughts and opinions about this smartphone. Until next time, we'll see you.